Hi there. If you clicked on this video, I'm guessing it's because you want to start a garden, but you're not quite sure how to get started. My name is Tanya, and I'm an urban homesteader, and you have come to the right place. Welcome to my new series, A Beginner's Guide on How to Get Started with a Spring and Summer Garden. I'm starting a series all about how to get started on your gardening journey, and I'm going to lay out the process for you step by step. The steps will be easy, so you don't have to feel like you'll be overwhelmed or like this is an impossible goal. So follow along with me and let's get this gardening journey started. But before we get going with the video, can I just ask you that if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, that you take a moment to click subscribe and click the notification bell so that you'll know whenever more content is coming from me. Also, if you could please take a moment to click like, that would really help me out. Thanks a lot. Now, back to the video. So I know that you are all eager to get going. You've probably already even bought gloves and seeds. But before you get into jumping into the soil, I want to first present to you a few questions that you need to ask yourself. These are the things that are going to lead to success. So you want to ask yourself several questions before you get going in the garden to ensure that you're going to have a successful gardening season. I'm going to ask you 3 basic questions and then 2 next level questions. These questions are going to ensure that you know what you're doing before you get started and that you have a plan laid out as you go into gardening. As with most of my talkie videos, I will be referring to some notes that I have as I go through the video. So just excuse me as I look down, but know that it's really good stuff. So the first thing that you want to ask yourself is, why do I want to do this? Consider your reason for gardening and think about why this is important to you. It can be anything from, I don't like the rising prices of groceries, to I want to reclaim a heritage that my family had but that I lost. Maybe you just decided, I want to be able to provide for myself and my family. You want a healthy outlet or a hobby. All of those are legitimate reasons. Those might not be your reasons. A lot of those were my reasons. But you need to think about why you want to do this, because it's going to be work. It's going to be enjoyable work, but it will be work. So before you dive into a major project like this, think about your why. Why is it important to you? Why do you want to do it? The next thing you want to ask yourself is, where can I do it? You may live in a house with a large yard that you can use, but maybe you live in an apartment and you don't have a lot of space. Maybe you only have a patio or your windowsill. Perhaps you're in a duplex and you have a small space in the front and a small space in the back. Or maybe you're renting, so you're in a house or a duplex, but you're renting that home, so you don't necessarily know if you can use it. Those are the things that you want to think about and consider before starting a garden. Am I in a community with an HOA? Am I renting? And if you are renting, ask your landlord for permission. They often give permission. I've been in several rental homes, and each time the landlord gave me permission to create a garden. So you never know. Go ahead and ask. It's an important thing to check and make sure that you can do it, because you probably can, and you'll never know unless you ask, right? If you're in an apartment, don't think that you're out of luck. If you have a patio, you can use containers on the patio. You can put a raised bed on the patio if it's large enough, or you can use a window if you don't have a patio. If you have bright windows, you can put containers or pots in front of a window to grow things as well. So there are a lot of different options, but you have to think about that. You have to decide ahead of time where you're going to grow things so that you have in mind what you can do and what kind of space that you have. Third question that you want to ask yourself is, what do I like to eat? Don't waste time growing things that you're not interested in eating just because they seem like a cool thing to grow, right? Take your time to learn about how to grow the things that you, and if you have a family with you, that you and your family enjoy. Learn about those things and then work on growing those things. So you need to take some time and think about it first. Is squash easy to grow for some people? Sure. Do you like squash? If you don't like squash, don't take a ton of time learning how to grow squash. Sure, it is something that you can learn maybe down the road, but you want to take time to learn the things that you like. Maybe you like tomatoes, maybe you like carrots, maybe you like peppers, maybe you like collard greens, maybe you like kale or broccoli. Figure out how to grow those things first. So those were 3 initial questions. Those are the things that you want to ask at the very beginning of your process when you're first getting started. These are the kinds of things that you want to consider before you ever put hand to the plow, right? These are the kinds of questions that you're going to use to determine exactly how to get started. Now I have some next level questions that'll take it a little further for you. The first question is, what is my growing zone? You might think, what? growing zone. I talk about growing zones in another video. I'll link it here for you. So go ahead and check that out. But I will just give you a little bit of information about that right now. Plants need 3 things to grow, right? Sunlight, water, and nutrients, which usually comes from the soil. In addition to that, though, they need a good climate, right? They need the right conditions as far as temperature goes, as far as sunlight goes, in order to grow. So there are growing zones for different regions, and they are specifically designated based on the length of time between the first and the last frost. So you need to know what your growing zone is so that you can know specifically how much time you have to grow a certain type of crop and what time of year you can grow it. When I lived in Texas, our growing zone was something like 9A, 8B. And that was because I was in Central Texas. The further south you went, the higher the number got, which meant the longer your growing zone was. Now that I'm in Virginia, my growing zone is in the 7 range, 6s and 7s. So I clearly have less time now to grow things in the warmer seasons. It is pivotal that you know your growing zone. You can find it out really easily by going to this website right here. Just drop in your zip code and you can find your growing zone very easily. Of course, this information is for those who live in the United States. You can go to that website. I don't know how to find growing zones outside of the US, but if anybody does know how to use that or how to find that information, and if that is something that's used outside of the US, I would love for you to drop information about it in the comments section. The second next level question that you should ask yourself, the types of things that you need to know, that type of question, is when should I start preparing? So everything doesn't grow all year long. Different types of vegetables and fruits grow at different times of year. So you can't just decide to throw everything out there in, July and expect that you'll get a harvest of everything that you want. July is actually a pretty rough time to plant most things. But there is kind of a half and half for a lot of things that you can grow one half of the year and other things that you can grow later in the year or in the second half of the year. So you need to know what you want to grow and when. For instance, if you want to grow things that are fruiting plants that make flowers that turn into fruit, like tomatoes, squash, eggplants, peppers, those kinds of things you need to plant or you need to expect to grow in a spring and summer garden. So depending on where you live, you might be starting those seeds in late December, January, or February to get them ready to start growing through the spring and into the summer. Other types of plants will grow in the cooler months, and those are generally not the fruiting plants. So plants like collard greens, kale, cabbage, all of those leafy greens, those types of plants do better in the winter and in the fall and into the winter. So you'll often start those plants in late July, depending on where you live, or into August and September and get those in the ground. So it's really important to know when you can plant or when you can start preparing to grow certain plants. Asking yourself that question is going to help you to know what you can grow when and what you can expect to have on the table. Again, just to recap, we're going to go over those 5 questions again. First, you have your 3 initial questions. Why do I want to do this? Where can I do it? And what do I eat? And then you want to think about your next level questions, and those are the types of things that you need to know to get started. What is my growing zone? And when should I start preparing? Those are five important questions to ask yourself when you're first getting started with a garden before you ever break ground. Sit down, take some time, write those things out. You really want to give yourself time to think through this. Don't shortchange yourself by rushing into the process, even though you may be really excited and just want to get out there and get going. Trust me, you will thank yourself later if you have notes for yourself about what you're doing and why you're doing it. I hope that you found this initial video helpful. And if you did, please stay tuned. There will be many more videos. There's lots of information that you need to know about gardening, but it doesn't have to be hard. So I'm looking forward to making more videos where I talk about starting seeds versus direct sowing, how to prepare the soil, whether or not to use rows or grow beds, making a garden plan and why it's important, how to garden indoors and how to garden outdoors. There are a lot of really interesting things that I'm excited to cover. So please make sure that you come back, check on the series. I'll have it all linked below. As I add new videos to the series, I'll link them and I'll make a playlist specifically for this Beginning Gardener series. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed so that you know when the next video comes out in this series. Go ahead and comment below if you have any comments or any questions. I can't wait to hear from you. I'm looking forward to making that next video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.